2 decades ago, the United Nations General Assembly declared September 16th as the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer to commemorate the signing of the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer in 1987. In keeping with this observance, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines National Ozone Unit, along with the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, launched a series of activities at the Methodist Church Hall aimed at promoting the objectives of the protocol. The event included the launch of 2 educational handbooks on ozone depletion and other aspects of the ozone layer, as well as the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding for the commencement of operations for 5 national recovery centers across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Certificates were also awarded to refrigeration and air conditioning consultants who successfully completed training in good refrigeration practices and the safe use and handling of alternative refrigerant technology. Director of the National Ozone Unit, Janelle Miller-Findley, in her opening remarks outlined some of the initiatives that the organization has embarked on since its inception in 2004.
Today we celebrated with the rest of the world the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer, known commonly as World Ozone Day. And the theme for this year is The Mission Goes On. And when you listen to a theme like that, it suggests to you it's a journey, because the mission goes on. It says that it's something that is continuous. And you might ask, where have we started this journey in St. Vincent? Where are we now? Where are we going? So I'll just briefly highlight some of the things from where we began and where we are now. The journey for us in St. Vincent began in 2004, August 16 to be exact, when I was appointed as the National Ozone Officer within the Ministry of Health at that time and the Environment. And since then, we have accomplished quite a few things. We have trained our technicians in stationary applications, mobile applications, retrofitting, domestic, commercial, and tonight we have 30 technicians who have successfully completed the first training in hydrocarbon technology. We have also hosted numerous consultations and workshops with our Customs and Excise Department, and we were able in 2012 to open the first refrigeration and air conditioning laboratory in the region as well. We have also developed the Code of Good Practices for technicians, which gives guidelines in terms of good practices in the refrigeration and air conditioning servicing sector. And with that code of practice, we made it simple and we try to give the technicians something that they can work with. You know, most of the time you do a workshop, it's 1 week, but you can cram everything that you learn in that 1 week in your brain and remember it. So we provided them with a handbook. We have also established the Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Technicians Association of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which we refer to as RACTA, and we did that in 2008, and it took a while to get that up and running, but we were able to accomplish our task, and in 2008, we had our Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Technicians Association established. We have also conducted numerous training with other stakeholders, and of course, public awareness is a main activity that we have. Now, where are we going in our journey? As of next year, we are hoping to undertake the pilot project where we will retrofit at least 2 government buildings with hydrocarbon, where we will demonstrate the efficiency, the climate friendliness, the ozone friendliness of natural refrigerants.
Gary Peters, lecturer and training facilitator for refrigeration and air conditioning at the Division of Technical and Vocational Education of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College, expounded on the training component of the hydrochlorofluorocarbon phase-out management plan, which was originally designed as a guideline for the systematic elimination of ozone-depleting substances and practices from our island.
The hydrochlorofluorocarbon phase-out management plan, or the HPMP, for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as indicated, is a project document outlining the strategy that we are going to use to rid St. Vincent and the Grenadines of the non-ozone friendly refrigerants and technologies that exist presently, and replacing them with alternatives that promote the ideals of the Montreal Protocol for ozone layer preservation. The project is built on 5 major components, of which the component of training has acquired the major portion of the budget. Training and its related activities approximate to US $269,000. Technicians being officially certified tonight were trained under Activity B of the training component of the HPMP. The training sessions were held in the form of a 5-day session as well as part-time evening sessions over 2 years as mentioned. Topics that were actually included in the training were: 1, a synopsis of the refrigeration industry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, good refrigeration practices, recovery, recycling, reclaiming. We looked at environmental issues of ozone depletion and global warming. We looked at refrigerants, their alternatives, natural refrigerants, hydrocarbon refrigerants, handling, storage, and transportation of these refrigerants. We also looked at retrofitting procedures and the selection of the best options to retrofit the present systems that we have. We also looked at refrigeration system performance after the conversions were made. This certification exercise is demonstrating that we now have within the local refrigeration industry a cohort of technicians who have attained a higher standard of practice in their vocation. It is no longer business as usual. In regards to our project document for the phase-out of hydrochlorofluorocarbons, St. Vincent and the Grenadines have demonstrated world-class leadership. We are amongst the few pioneers of natural alternatives. Our technicians are now being trained to measure up to those standards. Tonight, we are awarding certification to the first group of trainees. It is imperative that we maintain the momentum we have initiated and succeed in our mission of eliminating ozone-depleting substances from the shores of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
In his featured address, Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, the Honorable Clayton Bergin, congratulated the National Ozone Unit on their outstanding achievements over the years. He further pledged his ministry's continued support for initiatives geared towards the preservation and conservation of our natural environment.
September the 16th was declared by the United Nations General Assembly as the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. And it is indeed symbolic and worthy of recognition, given that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is among the 197 United Nations member states, which are signatories to the Montreal Protocol, making it the only agreement that has achieved universal ratification and the most successful multilateral environmental agreement. Ladies and gentlemen, you may recall from previous occasions of this type that it was stated that St. Vincent and the Grenadines 7 years ago recorded a zero import of CFCs, which was in advance of the country's obligations, and that in 2011, St. Vincent and the Grenadines was recognized and awarded by the United Nations Environmental Program for its outstanding work in the phase-out of ozone-depleting substances in the fulfillment of the obligations under the Montreal Protocol. So you could give yourself a round of applause. In addition, also in 2011, St. Vincent and the Grenadines became the first country in Latin America and the Caribbean to receive approval and funding for over $1 million to undertake an accelerated phase-out management plan for hydrochlorofluorocarbons, or HCFCs. And then, the National Ozone Unit, through the project, funded the development of what remains the first state-of-the-art audio-visual training laboratory for the refrigeration and air conditioning industry in this region, housed at the Division of Technical and Vocational Education of the St. Vincent de Grenadines Community College. This is the third certification ceremony that the unit has hosted, but the first in hydrocarbon and alternative technologies. I congratulate the technicians who have successfully completed their training and tonight will receive their certificates of completion. Given my professional background in the teaching profession, ladies and gentlemen, I am always interested in those things that help to educate. So I wish also to commend the unit on the launch of the ozone education booklets, or handbooks. The science of ozone layer depletion is not a well talked about or understood topic, and these booklets have made the science simpler. And in the case of the kids' booklet, learning is made fun with the lovely illustrations and games. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to express my appreciation to those companies and individuals who have partnered with the unit to establish and host recovery centers throughout the islands. The protection of the ozone layer cannot be accomplished in isolation, so it is encouraging to witness firsthand what can be realized through partnership and cooperation. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment remain committed to the overall protection of our natural and man-made environments. And if our planet is indeed to be preserved for future generations, we cannot limit our efforts to any one environmental problem, as is seen in the effects of global warming, climate change, and ozone layer depletion. The ones who cause the most damage are not the only ones to suffer the loss and devastation, nor are the environmentalists and those who preserve exempted from the effects of environmental degradation. In our country, our environment, our health, and our children's future. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is our responsibility to do our part to preserve our natural resources, habitats, and our atmosphere.
Officials from the Ministry of Health, along with representatives of 4 local refrigeration and air conditioning companies, and the Dean of the Division of Technical and Vocational Education of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College, signed agreements to formally launch the operation of 5 recovery centers across the island. Assistant Ozone Officer Brenton Kwame gave a detailed overview of the role and functions of these recovery centers.
The destruction of the ozone layer caused by the venting of refrigerant gases that are ozone-depleting substances, which also have high global warming potentials, is what guided the National Ozone Unit to develop the plan set out in the hydrochlorofluorocarbon phase-out management plan to take the initiative to implement these recovery centers. These centers will, 1, enable technicians to be better able to recover refrigerants in an environmentally friendly manner. 2, help to maintain the phase down of ozone-depleting substances. 3, reduce refrigerant emissions into the atmosphere. And 4, reduce the total consumption of virgin ODSs imported into St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The program is designed to set up a comprehensive method of recovery and recycling of refrigerants in the refrigeration and air conditioning sector. Currently, 5 partners have pledged their support to this task. And permit me to repeat them. They are the St. Vincent Community College, Division of Technical and Vocational Education, SGD Freightos and Company Limited, Tratman's Electronics Services Limited, the Mustique Company, Mustique Property Maintenance, and Oliver's Maintenance Services. The long-term objective of these centers is to eliminate ODS emissions into the atmosphere completely and to contribute to a smooth transition to non-ODS technology with the refrigeration and air conditioning sector. I now have great pleasure to declare the refrigeration and air conditioning recovery centers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines open. I thank you.
Reporting for the Agency for Public Information, I am Sharish John.
Andrew Miller of Andrew's Refrigeration to invoke the presence of the Lord with a prayer, please. To help us with the national anthem on pan. Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Honorable Clayton Boggin. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Mr. Louis Deschong. Senior officers of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, senior custom officers, technician trainer and refrigeration air condition consultant, Mr. Gary Peters, staff of the National Ozone Unit, staff of the Ministry of Environment and Management Department, representatives from Refrigeration Air Conditioning Technicians Association and companies, media representatives, special invited guests, well-wishers, good evening all. On behalf of the National Ozone Unit and the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, I want to officially welcome you to the celebration of National Ozone Day. This day is celebrated by the National Ozone Unit, and it's a day that is celebrated internationally. And the National Ozone Unit in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment joins with the rest of the world in celebrating today. And in our own small way in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are making a significant contribution to the removal of ozone-depleting substances, a contribution that seems to be small in its own way, as we're a small country that contributes very little to the destruction of the ozone layer. But in our own small way, we are doing what we ought to do and living up to our responsibilities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and ensuring that we preserve the environment and the ozone layer for future generations. This evening, our activities, our celebration would hear a couple of presentations from a number of persons at the head table, as well as see the signing of some memorandum of understanding, as well as certificates being presented to trained consultants or persons who are trained in refrigeration and air conditioning. So we have quite a packed but short program for you, and I hope that you would enjoy what is presented to you. At this point, I want to ask Ms. Janelle Miller of the National Ozone Unit coordinator to have brief opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Bowens. Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Honorable Clayton Bergen, Permanent Secretary, Mr. Louis Deschamps, Technician, HPMP Consultant Trainer, Mr. Gary Peters, Mr. Bowens, who you heard from, the Dean of the Community College, well-wishers, friends, technicians, fellow staff, welcome. My presentation will be quite brief. I know we have won your patience. You've waited quite a while. But as Mr. Bowen said, today we celebrated with the rest of the world the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer, known commonly as World Ozone Day. And the theme for this year is The Mission Goes On. And when you listen to a theme like that, it suggests to you it's a journey, because the mission goes on. It says that it's something that is continuous. And you might ask, where have we started this journey in St. Vincent? Where are we now? Where are we going? So I'll just briefly highlight some of the things from where we began and where we are now. The journey for us in St. Vincent began in 2004, August 16 to be exact, when I was appointed as the National Ozone Officer within the Ministry of Health at that time and the Environment. And since then, we have accomplished quite a few things. We may not, I think we need to brag a little bit more sometimes, because these are things that we have been commended a lot. And I think probably every year we get commendation from the Ozone Secretariat in Nairobi. That's the head office for UNEP. And sometimes we don't brag enough about what we do in St. Vincent. So let me highlight just a few. Since 2004, 10 years ago, we have hosted quite a few technicians training program, and I see in the audience persons like Arthur Matthews, I think Adrian Oliver. They would have been at every training that we have, they would have been present. And it helps to show that we are building the institutional memory, it's building the sector, it's building the industry. Because from time to time you do training, but persons leave, they migrate. But it's good to see that we have continuity. We have trained our technicians in stationary applications, mobile applications, retrofitting, domestic, commercial, and tonight we have 30 technicians who have successfully completed the first training in hydrocarbon technology. And when Mr. Peters speaks, you will hear more about what that signifies. It may sound simple, but for us in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as small as we are, I think maybe when we got approval for our HPMP, which is the phase out of hydrochlorofluorocarbons, we were the only country in the Latin American Caribbean region to have gotten approval from the Multilateral Fund to do such. And I think that's a great accomplishment for us. And tonight, I think Grenada would have done some training in hydrocarbon and so on, but we are right up there on par with the rest of the region. And I know that our technicians, if they have to travel with CSME and so on, the certification that they are going to get tonight is going to lend to their opportunities abroad. We have also hosted numerous consultations and workshops with our Customs and Excise Department. As you know, the consumption of ozone-depleting substances is based on what we import. Our phase-out schedules, our phase-out management plans is based on phasing out what we bring into the country. So the ozone unit has to rely on the Customs and Excise Department, and they are represented here by Mr. Swift, who also attended one of the many workshops that the region would have had, and he has partnered with us and assisted us in further training of custom officers. And we are quite grateful for that partnership that we have with the Customs Department. You have heard from Mr. Bowens, who is the Dean at the Division of Technical and Vocational Education of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College. They too have partnered with us from the day in 2004, it would have been Mr. Mapp at the time. Then when Mr. Bowens took over, he also saw the vision and he continued to partner with us. And we were able in 2012 to open the first refrigeration and air conditioning laboratory in the region as well. And we are grateful for that partnership as well, because we cannot do it on our own. Our unit, until probably 2007, was just a unit, as in one person, me. So, you know, it would have been difficult to achieve all of this without the partnership of those persons that I've mentioned and the industry, as I said before. We have also